Welcome to the course for admin and process owners. We're going to walk through both roles, starting with the role admin. Before we start the course, we would like to mention that this is a course in the system for process owners and administrators. We recommend to take the user course first if you have not done that. If you would like to know more about the methodology, we recommend to read one of our published books and also take my 360 courses. The My 360 courses and the books are available at no cost if you have a premium license. If you do not have a premium license, you can buy one of the My 360 courses directly in the My 360 training library. The books are available at Amazon. We also use a case throughout the Transformation 360 training that is from a UN case that we did at Innovation 360 in New York, where we're ideated around our round number of solutions for 4 of the sustainability goals. That would be used as an example throughout the training. If you are an admin, you will see Client Setup. Under Client Setup, you find Users. That's where you change users' roles and also add or remove users. Under Organizations, you can build up an organizational structure and link in users, giving them specific access right. If you are a process owner or admin, you will see the menu Alternative Process, where you find the processes, ideation works, and master activities. If you are a process owner or an admin, you will see the menu Alternative Ideation. On the menu, you find Strategic Initiatives, Ideation, Contribution Sites, Messages, Finder, Supercluster Ideas, and Progress. If you are a user or a process owner or an admin, you will see the Transformation 360 menu alternative. Under Home, you will have an opportunity to add ideas, see your own responsibilities, to check your ideas, campaigns, comments, ideation works, and clusters your ideas belong to. You can also click on the dashboard, dictionary, or frequently asked questions. Here we will learn more about strategic initiatives, what it is, and how do you add them to the system and link it to ideation work and so forth. If you want to add a strategic initiative, you click on the menu Alternative, Strategic Initiative. Here you can see a number of initiatives. This case is from a project we did with the United Nations in New York around 4 sustainability goals. Number 13, number 12, number 14, and number 15. If we click on number 12, this is a very typical initiative. Pretty big actually. Most of the initiatives are really big, and you need to somehow create something like a sketchbook for them. We call that an ideation. Here we have 2 different sketchbooks. One for a circular business model, and one around the plastic garbage patch in the ocean. If we click on a plastic patch, we can see a number of campaigns we have, the ideas, and how we clustered them. We can also go directly to the ideation page. Here we can see a description of the ideation. We can see the ideas and how we clustered them. We can see the different campaigns and how we gradually formed the idea around the floating factory. After several campaigns and clusterings, we quickly realized we should start an ideation work here around the floating factory. It could be a way of solving the plastic patch situation. You can see all the campaigns, the hypotheses and experiments, and communicate and so forth. So let's dive into the ideation and see how we will work with that. We start with the plastic patch ideation. Here you can see the description. You can see it belongs to the strategic initiative, the UN goal number 12, production and consumption. You can see the visibility, visible for whom, status, the impact and feasibility, all the campaigns that are linked, the communication that we've done in the past, and also contribution sites. We don't have any here, we didn't use that in the project. Saying that, we will showcase very soon how to set it up if you would like to use it. We can also see the clustered ideas, and we can see the ideation work and all the hypotheses and experiments. Let's have a look into the setup of the ideation. We can add the name, the description, the sponsor, the problem title, the problem description, the strategic initiative. Actually, it can be several strategic initiatives. The impact, the feasibility, the horizon, where Horizon 1 is here and now, Horizon 2 in the middle, Horizon 3 is the unknown and the more explorative work. We can tell what organization it belongs to, the visibility, if it is just for that organization, or for that organization with sub-organizations, or if it is for all organizations, or public. Public means that anyone can see it, including contributors from contribution sites. Then you can choose if it's open or closed. Let's see how your cluster ideas that come from different campaigns. We click on Cluster Ideas. That way we can classify ideas from different campaigns. Before we dive into that, let's have a look at what we already clustered. So, we take one of the clustered clusters, in this case the floating factory. Here we can see the ideas that are in that cluster. We can add experiments and hypothesis. To each one of the hypotheses we have an experiment. We can then choose whether it is verified, not verified, or unknown. We can click on the experiment. We can update the title description, the expected result, the actual result, and if we want we can add a contingency plan for the case something go wrong. We can mark it as successful, unsuccessful, running or unsuccessful. It is also possible if you have the premium version to link it to an experiment stored on your SharePoint or under other storage solution, but that is only for the premium version. When it comes to create your own clusters, you can click on the plus sign and you can add a cluster with a title, a description, and the status. Then you can add ideas to that cluster. You can also click directly on cluster ideas, and you can find the ideas that you'll find interesting. It will most likely be quite many. Therefore, you can use the search function and search for specific ideas. For instance, we can search for plastic, we can search for factory, and that way we can reduce the amount of ideas. If we identify interesting ideas, we can add them to an existing cluster or to a new cluster. I can also go to cognitive clustering, which is for premium only, where the system is extracting keywords in English regardless of the language used. If it's France, German, Arabic, and so forth, it will find the keyword and translate it from every spoken language. It will mark if it's a positive or negative or neutral sentiment, and it will also tell you how many ideas that goes into that specific keyword. Then if you want the keyword, you do the same here. You can add that into a cluster or to a new cluster. Another way is actually to add tag name to specifically selected idea. And if you do that, you can sort them on tag. And that way you can find new possibilities that can be clustered later on. Also, when you do the sorting, let's assume that you sort on tag. Now we don't have any tags, but you can see the symbol is changing if you then click on it. Then using the Shift key on your keyboard, you can do several assortment after each other, which is very powerful. If I want, I can also look into different clusters here. I can also click on the graphical symbol and I can have a look visually how it looks like, and I can browse around and see what is belonging to what. For instance, you can explore a specific idea and so forth. Now we're going to have a look at the campaigns. We have 3 campaigns linked to the ideation. One, how we can eliminate the need for plastics. One, how we can recycle the plastic garbage patch. And one, how do we deal with the poisoning microplastics now entering the food chain. Sometime you close campaigns and open up new campaigns based on what you learn in the clustering. If I click on one of those campaigns here, I can see all the ideas, the top-rated ideas, the recent activities. But I can also move one idea from one campaign to another campaign. And the reason for that is that sometimes you want to start a new campaign because you learned a lot in the clustering. Then you close the old campaigns and maybe open up 1 or 2 new campaigns. To invite people to an empty table, you move the ideas there. Make people feel good. My idea is there. Now we can continue to collect more ideas based on more insightful campaigns. So in this case, we didn't use the contribution sites. That's also why it's empty. We instead used the APIs and created a specific landing page. This is not needed anymore as Transformation360 contains a very comprehensive builder for contribution sites. We're going to walk through that in the next chapter. While you're working with your ideation, you can also go to the messaging function and messaging people that are engaged in different stages of your work. This is something that we will walk through in coming chapter in more detail. Note that messaging is only available for premium users. Let's start with adding a contribution page for tackling a plastic patch in the ocean. We name it to plastic, and the title is tackling the plastic patch in the ocean. The name will also be the URL that you use to invite people. Then we add a description. We have prepared a Word document that we can use to add the information. This document is also available as a course resource. When you do paste it in from a Word document, you normally get a lot of hidden characters. You can easily remove them to make sure there is no characters hidden that you don't want to have. Now we can choose the text color, let's say white, and the size 24. And we do that per paragraph. After that, we can say if it should be included on the landing page. A landing page is where you can connect all the contribution sites in one place and publish that internally, for instance on SharePoint. We don't do that here because it's just one single contribution site. Then we can add text for the Proceed button. It could, for instance, be, "Let's do it." Then you can change the name of the different buttons. You can also add a logotype, a background picture, change the menu background color, the menu font color, and the font color. You can also choose to have only pre-created contributors, or not having only pre-created contributors. As admin, you can go into users where you could add administrators, process owners, users, administrators, and you can also add contributors that need to be done manually one by one, or you can import it as a list. If it's not only pre-created contributors anyone can register, but you can see who is registered and you can block them or remove them. Then you can also link the contribution site to Google Analytics if you want to track like gender, country, and so forth. You can also show ideation help, which is a quite nice framework. So we enable that here. You can, if you want to have social media sharing functions here for ideas. That's typically something you use for open ideations. We can mark it as closed and then it will not be accessible. And you can have a closed message telling where it's closed. You can have a support mail if you want to. You can do complete customer translation. Not going to do that here, but it is possible to do. You can hide ideas, that is a special case, a special most never do. Then you can decide how many ideas that's visible. Let's say 40. After that you can push the save. Now let's see if we can add the logo type. And let's see if we can add a background, in this case with a gradient background. We push save. And we do go to show a new tab to see how this looks like. That looks quite nice. Maybe we'll want to center the text. Let's see if we can do that. And we proceed. We'll go back to the page. Looking good. Now we're going to add the campaigns, clicking on the plus sign. Starting with the first one where we add the title and description. We pick the right campaign. We can add read more URL link to a bottom. We can add a call to action. We can add a label on the bottom to leave the idea. We can pick a background image. Then we can pick a background color in hexadecimal. And we can pick a font color in hexadecimal. The color picker is used for finding any kind of hexadecimal number for a color. We can tell if it should be displayed as number 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And that will be the order shown on the contribution page. Then we can click if it's active or not. We're now going to add the 3 campaigns by clicking the plus sign and take the steps I just showed. The first one that we prepared is how can we eliminate the need for plastic? How can we recycle the plastic garbage patch? How can we deal with all the poisoning microplastics now entering the food chain? We also have all our files here prepared. All of their files are also available resources in the course. So sit tight and watch me work. We're going to set up an ideation work in this section of the course. We go to Processes. On the Processes you find your predefined processes, which also could be customized. That is Teach in the Advanced class for administrators. So we're not going to do that here. Saying that we're going to click on it so you'll see how it looks like, but we're not going to work on the actual customization. Here you can customize everything. Every single activity, phase, whole process, status, and so forth. What we're going to do is to use one of the processes. In this case, we're going to use an adapted version of the 5i process, and we're going to start an ideation work. And say like, hey, we would like to do something more with a plastic patch. Maybe we identify other things except from the floating factory. We add simply an ideation work around bacterial bioremediation of the ocean plastic waste for actually breaking down plastics. We also write a description for the ideation work based on the different ideas we had in the clustering. We link it to the garbage patch. And the initiative is production and consumption. Now we can see the description here. We can see each one of the different phases. If we want to, we can update the phase and say, for instance, this specific phase is excluded because we don't want to take it that far. We just want to do this in a first phase. Maybe we don't want to take it into full production, so we exclude it. Maybe we just want to get identified and iterate, and maybe not even incubate. So let's do that. Then we can put responsible people in each phase. To do that, we need to actually assign people to that specific ideation work. We go to Setup and update the specific people that we want to have working with us in the ideation work. We also link the ideation work to clusters where you find interesting ideas. Let's say the cluster Access and Technology could be New Materials, and it could be Innovative Solutions for Sustainable Living, which contains quite many things around this subject. Maybe the New Materials subject is less relevant. Let's remove that one. Now we can add people working with this one ideation work. So we add a few people to this ideation work. You can also, on the setup on the ideation work, exclude different activities by unclicking them. That's only possible with the one that are marked in the process as not mandatory. Now we go to the ideation work and start to work with it. On ideation work you have two update possibilities. The first update is for the whole ideation work and the other one for the phase. The phase is linked to the different tabs from Identify, Iterate to Incubate. Incubate, Intensify, and Institutionalize are all excluded here. Now we start with updating the ideation work. Here you can appoint someone that is responsible. You can also add a documentation link, which means a link to your local SharePoint, Teams, a Slack channel, or any kind of link where you store your documentation internally. You can also set the level of uncertainty. You can set the different statuses. All of this is actually possible to customize in the process setup. What you see here is what we have per default. Here you can see in progress, completed, closed, or closed down. We can have a start date, a planned end date, and an actual end date. Then you can also add work progress reports. When you use the action plan, the period could be a day, a week, a month, and so forth, depending on how you organize your internal work. You then add the action plan for the next period. You have blockers and miscellaneous settings and a timestamp. When you save this, it will be saved as an action timestamped report. And then you can add a new report, and a new report, and a new report, and they will be built upon each other. Those will then be visible on the dashboard. If you go to the dashboard and click on ideation work, you will see the action reports. So let's create one report here. The action plan for this period is actually to understand. An action plan for the next period is to start experiment. We don't have any blockers right now and no miscellaneous, so we just save it. Here we can now change it. If I now go to the dashboard and click on ideation work, I can see here I have the report. So I can even see the report on the screen in a meeting situation. This is a very good view that you can use for meetings. Then you have ideation that we talked about. That's the sketchbook you have. Then you have an overview with diagrams that you can also customize as an admin. That is covered in the advanced course. Now let's go back to the ideation work again. Bacterial work. On the ideation work, you can click on each one of the tabs for the phases. If you click on one tab, you will see all the activities for that phase, and they are grouped according to the process. Let's assume that we click on one of activities here as a test. Here we have downloadable instructions that you can click on and read. That is a part of the process setup. Some links are directly to tools. If I click on this one, it would immediately jump into a pestle tool and so forth. Then you can also add a responsible person, you can add documents, and you can also have a logbook where you have ideation work events that you can add. Now you can see a symbol with a responsible person. Let's now, for the sake of it, add another person here. Now we are logged in as that person. Also means that if you click on the little symbol up here, you will see that person's responsibility and all other people's responsibility. On the experiment symbol, you will see all linked experiments and hypothesis. We don't have any here right now, but that will show up here. This is also covered in the user course. Here you can see all linked documents, and here you can see an overview of the linked ideation, the different clusters, people participating, and also the actual reports, as well as the ideation work event log. Let's go to the ideation, the plastic garbage patch, where we're going to communicate with people around the floating factory. We believe there's an untapped potential here, and we want to engage people around specific clustering linked to the campaign, how we can eliminate the need for plastic. We want to engage and communicate around this. So let's start by clicking on the plus sign. We add the subject. We add a hello phrase. You can use the tags to have the first name or first name and the last name. We need some sort of catchy email headline. We need also email introduction. And we can have an alias as a sender. We don't have one, but we can create it. A cool one could be the plastic team. We don't have any comments here. Now we click save. From here we can add different message parts, we can add call to action, we can add a part header, a part text, we can link it to a specific campaign, and can add a specific call to action and a background. It's nothing we're going to do now, but that is absolutely possible. Now you can add the recipients, the one that is going to get the message. For instance, the last 30 days logins, not login people. People that comment on ideas, not comment at all. And so forth. Then you can exclude contributors, you can exclude ideators, which means people that are users, process owners, or admins. Simply the people using the inside of the system. We can also exclude participation from people linked to other messages. We don't have any other messages, so that option is not visible because of that. Now we can save. After that, you can actually delete specific recipients. You can add more people if you want it. You can clear it, or you can decide to send. You can also send a test message to yourself. Everything will be logged and visible. You can see exactly what happened. No one of those is sent, so you can't see anything right now. Moreover, the messages can also be deleted.